Good morning and happy Saturday. Welcome to another episode of Get Elevated with Gia, self-proclaimed G-Money. I'm in the studio for season 4, wrapping up season 4. Season 4 was Cannabis and ... This is the episode Cannabis and Cannabis Social Lounges. I'm in the studio with Mr. Scot Rutledge. Scott, hello.
Hi, Gia.
I'm so happy to have you here because you have been on my radar for quite some time to connect with, not just for the show, but because we're both in the industry. So for those of you listening for the first time, this is a show about cannabis. It's called Get Elevated with Gia, Truth and Clarity. We cover all things cannabis. Please go back to Spotify or all the social platforms. You'll find us there and catch us from the very beginning. We've been on the show for a year, Scott.
A year. Congratulations.
I wanted to have you on when I worked out the kinks. So now I've worked out the kinks. I wanted it to be perfect for you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening, everyone out there. Returning guests, thank you so much for your continued loyalty. This show would be nothing without listeners. The vision for this show, Scott, so you know, is global access, awareness, and education of this beautiful plant. I want everyone to at least know about it, maybe try it, give it a couple tries, and to see how it can be such an impact in life. And that's really what the show has been about. So today, for those of you who live in Nevada, some very exciting news has been out, I don't know, several months now, that we are going to have what was called consumption lounges. Now I'm going to let Scott talk more about that in a minute. We're calling them cannabis social lounges, potentially something else before it gets finalized. So Scott, thank you for your time today. Welcome to Get Elevated with Gia.
Hi, Gia. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Scott. Just one T on the Scott, though?
Well, the second one's superfluous.
You know what? Fair enough. It's like Scott versus Scott. Yeah? Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying.
I think it sounds the same whether you have one or two.
But did one just fall off as you got older? Was there ever another T? Did you just decided to get cool and say, I'm dropping the T?
I can't take credit. My mother.
She just did one T because she's like, that's all you need. It's Scott.
Correct. It's not short for something. No. Right? It's a Scott.
Scotledge.
Yeah.
That'd be like a combination
Scotland. But even that's only one T.
Correct. Is it really? I didn't know. Okay. We're already digressing. Scott, put your seatbelt on. It's what I do. Okay. Now, Scott, I would like if you could start with, for those of you that don't know, obviously you've had such a huge impact in our cannabis legislation. Oh, my God.
Legislation.
Oh, my God. Thank you for that.
No worries.
But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? When did you start cannabis? What else do you do? And then what do you do presently, so people can get a whole background on you?
So
can we do that?
I'd be very happy to do that. So I moved here from Dallas, Texas, where I grew up. I spent the first half of my life, third of my life, in Dallas. I call it a third because I expect to grow to at least 75 years old. So,
yeah, I mean, I would hope more.
Well, maybe, but you know.
Let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
That's fair.
But at this point in my life, it was roughly my wonder years, if you will. I grew up in a town called Waxahachie, Texas.
That's one word, Waxahachie?
It is, and you might know it or ever read it if you read Kurt Vonnegut or follow physics because the superconducting super.
I follow physics, Scott. What are you trying to say? Should I know?
The planets and the universe and all that.
Really?
Yeah, we're famous because they were going to build this superconducting super collider to smash atoms to try to find. They called it the God particle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought DMT is the God particle.
Well, they didn't talk about that then, not in Waxahachie at least.
Do they talk about it now?
In Waxahachie?
Yeah.
Probably not. Probably not.
How far is that from actual Dallas?
It's about a half hour.
You have no twang, nothing.
You lose it if you don't practice.
I gotcha. Did you intentionally try to lose it?
I did, but that was actually when I was still in Texas.
Okay.
And my background is I went to college, and it was a small Jesuit school, and everybody that went to that school was from somewhere else.
Okay.
And they had accents. And so when I went to the workforce, my first job was as a securities broker. Well, my first job post-college was as a securities broker. And I talked to people all over the country, and not having an accent made it easier because they weren't like ever trying to figure out where I was from. They just sort of
distracting sometimes, right? Yeah, I get it.
But I'll drop a y'all every once in a while.
Who doesn't?
So after college and a little brief stint doing that work, I was kind of not doing anything. I was bartending and a little travel, and a friend called me up and said, "Hey, we're working on this medical marijuana project in Vermont, and I heard you're not really doing anything. Do you want to come out and try it? Work on this project, right?
Sure.
So I flew up to Burlington, and I spent about 10 weeks knocking door to door. Sometimes these walks were 10 minutes because it's rural Vermont.
Yeah, right.
And you'd show up and knock on the door with some postcards and say, hey, we're trying to get this bill passed for medical cannabis, medical marijuana. And people would tell you their stories, and they'd write them down. And it was a really cool project to be part of. I came back for the holidays to Texas, and they said, hey, we're going to legalize marijuana in Vegas. Do you want to come out and work on that?
Okay.
So I came out in January of 2004 and never left. And that was my first job here, was to work as a campaign person on that.
Got it. Okay, so let me ask about your use of cannabis. When did that start, and what kind of relationship did you have with the plant?
I mean, my mom would be mad to say it started when I was a teenager, but the first time I tried it was probably when I was 16 or 17.
Sure.
And I was always the guy in my group that, I had lots of friends who smoked cannabis, but even as I got older, I was always that guy. I wasn't really into.
What's that guy, Scott? Which guy?
The weed guy.
Oh, you were the weed guy.
Yeah.
You had it?
I just had it, and my friends they always wanted to smoke.
Were you the plug? Were you the plug? You had it? I mean, it sounds like it.
I'll just say that, there's a reason why I think a lot of us should care about social equity programs going forward. To digress, because I think a lot of us, because of our privilege of being white or living in certain communities, didn't have the same hassles and certainly didn't deal with the same heartaches and problems.
Right.
But yeah, I was around it, and I moved out here, and part of working on the campaign was we had to basically abstain because you didn't want folks working on the campaign when it was illegal, getting busted and there being a news story. So I kind of had to take a break for several months.
Okay.
And then just sort of kind of decided, I'll wait. We'll see. Maybe there's something else I should spend my time doing.
Sure.
So probably back in 2004, I stopped consuming for a while, actually.
Okay.
And I worked as an environmental advocate. I ran a nonprofit here for 8 years.
Okay.
And that was another reason why I didn't use cannabis, because I didn't want to be in the headlines. If you do any work in public space,
sure,
right, you just don't want to be the person that gets in trouble.
I hope that changes, though.
It has. I mean, at this point, it's legal here, so there's no getting in trouble. With that,
but there's still a stigma, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think the way you break the stigma is just talk about it.
We should smoke right now.
Right.
We should smoke right this minute.
Yeah. Just say like, hey, you know what, UNLV, not trying to get you guys in trouble.
Right. Bad idea.
Okay. But no, I think it has changed a lot. And I sort of came back to cannabis in this very interesting way. I worked for our local Congresswoman, Dina Titus, for 2 years. And during that time, Nevada had just passed the law in 2013 to create medical cannabis licensing. And so we worked on some stuff together. She had me basically help her engage with the industry. And we traveled to Denver, Phoenix, San Francisco.
Oh, my.
She was the first elected official going to visit some of these cultivations and dispensaries.
Okay.
They would say, hey, our local council person won't even come and take a look at what we're doing here. We heard lots of great stories. And she really used all of that to take that message back to her colleagues in Congress to say, we really do need to support this.
Sure.
So that got me back interested in cannabis advocacy, was working for the Congresswoman for those 2 years.
That's fascinating.
She was a professor here for a long time at UNLV.
Okay.
So for those of you attending UNLV, your cannabis congresswoman was a professor for a while.
So cool.
And so after that, I took the job I'm at now, which is with a public policy communications firm called Argentum Partners.
Okay.
And my first client joining the firm was to help raise money for the legalization campaign in 2016.
Okay. Got it.
So that's how I came back to cannabis.
I love that. We never really leave her, do we?
No. It was a break. It was a hiatus.
A little hiatus, yeah. Scott, may I ask, personally, do you have kids?
I have a partner. Okay. She and I, we just bought a house in November.
Congratulations.
We have 2 dogs. We're dog parents.
What kind of dogs?
Crazy dog parents. We have a pit bull mastiff.
Oh, God, that's big. And
10-pound puppy. And we just got a Bernedoodle.
I don't know what a Bernedoodle is.
It's a Bernese mountain dog crossed with a poodle.
You like big dogs. This big standard poodle, yeah?
It'll be probably 80 to 90 pounds.
Oh, wow. What are their names?
Luna, the pit bull, and Henry, the Bernedoodle.
Luna and Henry. That's adorable. Okay.
They're a lot of fun.
So cool. You bought a house? You're moving when?
We already moved. We moved back in November, right before the holidays.
You said. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Congrats. Big stuff.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. We got a pool. So that's going to be fun.
You have to have a pool here.
Yeah.
You have to have your own dipping pool.
I wish I'd had a pool for all these years. I'd rented a couple of houses with pools, but having our own is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And the dogs are going to want to swim.
Absolutely. Get after it.
It's going to be
so
some,
fun.
Some
Well,
puppy
congrats.
pool parties.
Congrats on your first summer coming up with the pool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.